Laura Kuenssberg is just awful. She's not even trying to hide a bias anymore. But Bridget Phillipson successfully bull-rushed her on her own show. For too long, the media have been getting away with ripping the government to shreds just because it's not Tory, and just because the majority of mainstream media is controlled by right-wing millionaires. So I was pleased to see that Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, being completely on top of her brief and not allowing Laura Kuenssberg to get away with her nonsense. Can you believe she actually said that Labour have been in government for 7 long months? Why haven't they put up defence spending to 2.5%? 7 long months. That's compared to the Tories' 14 short years then, I suppose. But Phillips did hold her own. She gave what for, and it was brilliant to see. Look at the state of the country was left in. Look at what her precious Tory party had done to the public finances. Kuenssberg states that she will speak to the Tories in a bit, yet when she does, she doesn't hold them to account for the completely decimating the armed forces. She doesn't even mention their term in office, or how under the last Labour government it was at 2.5%, and under the Tories' watch they reduced the spending and cut service numbers. Not a dicky bird, not a word. Do you know what the Tories' answer to what their problem is right now? Disabilities and mental health. It would be them that was paying for it. That's right, if the Tories were back in power right now, people on disability benefit would be worried their money is going to be cut because the Tories don't think crippling anxiety is a medical issue. This won't be reported on the papers in the morning though. But I bet you if Bridget Phillipson had said that, it would be all over the front page news tomorrow. Absolutely boils my blood, they do. So here's Bridget Phillipson giving Laura Kuenssberg what for. And I absolutely loved it.
Would say it's also urgent that countries like Britain right now commit to spend more money, potentially a lot more money, on defence. Now, when you came into government, yes, you had a commitment to spend 2.5% of the national income at some point on defence, but for 7 long months, as the security situation has worsened, you haven't given people an answer. When will you make that commitment?
We will set out that pathway. I'm afraid I won't be doing it today on your programme, but we will set out that pathway towards it. But I should be clear. The last time this figure was reached was under a Labour government. So yes, it's been 7 months. The Conservatives had 14 years. They hollowed out our defence forces, which was something that one of their previous defence secretaries made clear. We recognise the need to invest more in defence. It's why the Chancellor at the budget invested £3 billion into our defence spending, alongside the single biggest pay rise in 20 years for our armed forces. So we have set out.
But an acknowledgement and a recognition that there has to be more cash.
Yes.
Doesn't do much for people like the boss of NATO, people like the Chief of the Defence Staff who sat in that chair not too long ago and said we are in a new dangerous moment. There must be more money for defence. You've had 7 months and you still won't even tell us when you're going to hit the target that you've already set.
There is already more investment going into defence. We recognise absolutely that there is more to do. But I would just point out, yes, absolutely, 7 months. The last lot had 14 years. And their plan to do this was just a joke.
Well,
it was widely derided as being empty promises.
The Conservatives had set a timetable about when they were going to hit that target, and we'll speak to them later in the programme. We'll talk to them later in the programme. I think what people want to know, 2.5. What people want to know is when they will see your credible plan to 2.5% spending on defence, which is north of £50 billion, and also other people, the boss of NATO, the US president, are saying it needs to be much more than that. Do you acknowledge that actually 2.5% might end up not being enough?
2.5% is ambitious, and the last time that was achieved, of course, was under a Labour government. It is an ambitious commitment, a commitment that we made in our manifesto. We are determined to deliver, and we will set out that pathway.
Actually, if you go right back to the Second World War, defence spending has been broadly decreasing ever since, obviously more sharply since the Cold War. And in that time, welfare spending has gone up. In many ways, we spent the peace dividend on welfare. We now have a situation where there's been this very sharp increase in people on disability benefit, for anxiety or whatever, many people of working age. And I'm afraid that can't go on as a country. We're going to have to be more resilient. So I think looking at welfare is not just about the savings, it's about our country getting onto a pro-growth footing.
But that is where you would look then. Disability benefits would be somewhere you'd be willing to pull back money to spend on defence instead.
So our Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride, as you know, was previously the DWP Secretary in charge of benefits. He set out a very clear plan, and we're not sure yet whether the government are going to follow that.
But that plan would not be enough cash in order to pay for the big extra lump of money that you're suggesting would be needed for defence. So just to be really clear, you're suggesting that you'd be willing to take a bigger axe to the welfare budget for people with mental health issues. You mentioned anxiety there, who might be claiming disability benefits in order to get money for defence. That's where you would
Just to be clear, Laura, I'm not saying the exact policy here and now, right? We will write our manifesto.
You're giving us a sense of the areas where you would look.
Of the fact that I think as a country, facing the threats that we do, we have got to be more resilient, and we've got to wise up to the fact that we cannot have a welfare budget that keeps ballooning whilst needing to increase spending on defence. It's quite clear, and I know that's a difficult thing to talk about, but we're going to have to get real about this.
What do you think Keir Starmer should say to Donald Trump on Thursday?
I just had a look through some of my previous videos, and I noticed that in October of 2024, Laura Kuenssberg was absolutely on one, spreading her misinformation and really hammering home the lies. She even gets caught out on it. I don't think I need to remind you of what kind of person she is, but if you want to see her getting caught out, then check the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you, probably when I've calmed down a bit.